Imagine a dream so vivid, so real, that when you wake, you swear your grandmother was just in the room, speaking, touching, guiding you. What if I told you she really was? That souls between lives can reach out to us, not in fantasy, but in ways countless people have documented across cultures and centuries. Tonight, we ask, how do souls communicate with the living and why? When the body dies, traditions say the soul lives on. But what happens in that mysterious space between lives before reincarnation, or whatever comes next? Researchers like Dr. Michael Newton, Dr. Brian Weiss, and mediums from across the world argue that souls don't simply vanish. They watch, they wait, and sometimes they whisper back. But how do they get messages through the veil? And why bother at all? To answer that, let's begin with the most common bridge between worlds, our dreams. Dreams are more than random firing neurons. In fact, thousands of people report visitation dreams, dreams that feel sharper, brighter, more real than any other. One striking account comes from a woman in New Jersey. After her father died suddenly, she dreamt he sat at the foot of her bed, wearing the same jacket he was buried in. He said only one line, "Don't sell the house, it will hurt you later." She woke shaken. Months later, pressured by relatives, she sold it. Within a year, the buyer defaulted. The house fell into disrepair, and the deal became a financial disaster. To her, it wasn't coincidence. It was a warning. Dr. Michael Newton's research suggests that souls between incarnations can enter the subconscious when the mind is quietest. They don't need language. They use imagery, presence, emotion. Dreams become the classroom where the living meet the dead. But if souls can guide us through dreams, why don't they just tell us directly while we're awake? Why all the riddles and shadows? Souls, according to Newton and Weiss, struggle with the density of our physical reality. Direct communication is like shouting across water. Instead, they send impressions nudges that filter into the subconscious. Take the case of Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist. He once dreamt of an ancient figure who told him, "You will be visited by the dead." The next day, patients came describing dreams of their own deceased loved ones. Jung believed his subconscious was tuned into a collective signal, a soul's radio wave beneath waking life. This raises a haunting question. If souls speak through the subconscious, how do we recognize their messages in the waking world? Here's where synchronicities come in. Souls, unable to shout into our ears, can arrange the world around us. One widow in Canada reported seeing her husband's favorite number, 314, everywhere after his death. On clocks, receipts, license plates. At first, she thought it coincidence, until she discovered his watch stopped exactly at 3:14 the night he died. Brian Weiss argues that synchronicities are a form of external nudging, a subtle engineering of events to grab our attention. Skeptics call it selective memory. Believers call it proof. But if souls can bend events to send signs, why do some reach for something riskier, speaking through people directly? Throughout history, certain people claimed to hear the voices of the dead. Mediums like James Van Praagh, or the subjects of Gary Schwartz's Afterlife. Experiments insist they channel messages from souls in the in-between. One case that stunned investigators: in a controlled experiment, a medium in Arizona was handed nothing but a first name. She then relayed details about the sitter's deceased brother, his favorite song, his private nickname, even the scar on his right wrist. None of this had been revealed beforehand. Skeptics argue mediums are cold readers, fishing for cues. But studies where mediums worked blind, with no visual contact, showed startling accuracy far beyond chance. If mediums can be voices for souls, why doesn't every message get through clearly? Why so many fragments, symbols, broken words? Souls don't speak in English, French, or Chinese. They speak in energy. Mediums often report receiving images, bursts of emotion, or symbols, because pure energy must be translated by the human brain. That's why messages are imperfect, sometimes confusing. A grieving mother once told of standing in her kitchen when she felt an overwhelming warmth wrap around her, as though arms invisible were holding her. In that moment, she said, she knew it was her son, gone only weeks before. No words, no visions, just presence. Energy, communication, bypasses reason. It strikes directly at the heart. But this opens another door. If souls communicate with energy, can they sometimes intervene in our world physically? Most communication is subtle, but sometimes the stories are shocking. One man, hospitalized after a car crash, awoke to see his deceased grandmother sitting calmly at his bedside. She said, "You will walk again, but you must not waste your second chance." Hours later, doctors told him his injuries were far less severe than expected. Within months, he walked. Another case, a pilot during World War II claimed his dead co-pilot appeared in the cockpit, grabbed the controls, and helped him land a failing plane. To this day, aviation circles whisper about phantom co-pilots who appear in desperate situations. Are these hallucinations, or are they rare moments when souls force themselves into visibility? If so, why don't they do it more often? What limits them? Authors like Newton say souls between lives must obey laws of energy. They can visit briefly, but too much contact strains both sides. Staying too long risks tethering them to the physical world, delaying their next incarnation. That's why contact is fleeting. A dream, a touch, a moment of warmth. Enough to remind us they're there, enough to guide. But if souls are limited in how they appear, why do they bother at all? What drives them to reach across the veil? Across the accounts, three motives echo: reassurance. Souls want us to know they survive, that death isn't an end, but a transition. Guidance, they steer us when we're lost, nudge us back to our life path. Connection, the most powerful reason, love. The bond doesn't die with the body. Take the story of a child in Ohio. After her sister died, she told her mother, "She visits me. She says you shouldn't cry so much. Shit makes it hard for her to leave." The girl was only 4. She had never read about afterlife theories, yet her words matched reports from adults worldwide that grief can hold souls close, and love can let them move freely. So what does this mean for us, here, still alive? If souls are reaching out, what are we supposed to do with their messages? The point, perhaps, isn't to obsess over proof. It's to listen. Whether through dreams, signs, mediums, energy, or rare visions, the message is consistent. Life continues, love endures, and guidance is available if we pay attention. But here's the haunting twist: if souls can reach us, can other entities do the same? And if so, how do we know who's really whispering in our ear? Souls between lives communicate not to control, but to remind us that our time here is brief, that our choices matter, and that we're not as alone as we think. The next time you wake from a dream that feels too real, or notice a number repeating, or feel a sudden warmth when no one's there, ask yourself, is it chance, or is it someone you love? reaching across the veil, whispering, "I'm still here, don't give up." And maybe the bigger question is this: if they can reach us from beyond, what responsibility do we have to listen and to live the lives they're trying to guide us toward?